Okay, so I've had some interest in how I handle my D&D journals for my characters, and I also just kind of want to document them as I finish them up through videos like this for my own benefit to kind of help solidify for me watching back over these, like what was my character about, why did I make the choices I made stylistically for their journals. I think it's a great way to get to know a character. So I'm going to just go through my D&D journal for my rogue Senoy, and we'll open it up and we'll flip through, and I'll describe a little bit about what the campaign is like so far. It's still an ongoing campaign, but this character, Senoy, the human rogue, is dead. So I just finished her up not long ago, finished up all of the illustrations and quotes for this book. So Senoy is wrapped up and finished. Starting off here, we have different journals are great for different types of characters. I try to keep in mind what a character would journal kind of themselves. These are not always from first-person perspective, but I try to keep them thematically appropriate for the character. This, however, is the first journal I ever did, and I'll be showing other ones later. I've got one for Effie, my dwarf cleric, almost wrapped up. I just need to finish the last couple of sessions, and then we'll be good to go. So Senoy here has a very simple cover. She's based off of a stoat, a weasel kind of character that I had built quite some time ago, and this is kind of a human version of her character. I adapted a science fiction storyline that I had for her into a more fantasy setting, and that's what we have going on here. As far as the sticker goes, we're just looking at things that are color-wise beautiful together, but also, Senoy's story did end in death, so we have a bit of a halo going on as well. Let's move my tea to the side here, and let's take a look. So usually I start off with a title, title page that has their name on it. So we have Senoy here. Florence is her kind of foster sister, so she's put also here kind of a mirror image. They're very connected. So we have just a small, simple illustration that shows that this journal is going to be about Senoy, my human rogue. And here we have, I like to incorporate quotes about my characters that I think that they kind of exemplify some portion of their story or their perspective. And this one is the one I chose that most clearly exemplifies what Senoy is about, because she is on the run from a thieves guild that she kind of worked over and stole some money from them in an attempt to save her sister, who also is embroiled in their politics. So whenever they catch you, they will kill you, but first they must catch you. And then I have done some small illustrations throughout. I am not an artist. I would consider myself not an artist, but I do have some small pieces that I've done here. And these beautiful stickers also take on a little bit of a light color from the from a marker, or in this case, kind of a watercolor pen. And so you'll see those too. Senoy is, to me, she's symbolically tied to butterflies in this. She's not a particularly hard-boiled rogue. She's got a lot of tenderness in her, a lot of fear. And so her transformation into what she must become is kind of very tied into, as on the other page as well, you saw butterflies around her name. But she's also a tender and romantic individual in the traditional sense. She believes in higher callings. She throws her own body at a problem. So we have flowers for her as well. Now, Christina, a friend of mine, gave me all of this wonderful washi tape that you'll see that also kind of ties things together. You saw it on the other page as well. All this beautiful washi tape that you will see on every page. So I start off with session 1 here. Sometimes I'll do a character sheet, some sort of description of the character, their history. This was my first journal, so I didn't do that on this one. We just jumped straight into session 1. We were in Hillsfar. This is a campaign that my husband is homebrewing the setting and plot lines for us at home. My niece, my sister, me, and then our roommate as well. And so it's been a lot of fun playing with everybody, especially my young niece, because it's her first campaign. And she was 14 when we started, which is such a great age for just so much creativity at the table. So throughout this, I had first started off saying, oh, I'll just write on the right-hand sides of the pages. And I had a bunch of blank pages on the left, and I was just going to leave them blank. But then as I got further on in the journal, as you can see here, all of a sudden I started having to write on both sides because I was running out of space in my journal. And so I did go back through and do a lot more illustrations than I usually would, which is why I had to pull out all the quotes that I had ever pulled up for Senoy and slap them all in on every left-hand side page. So this journal will be a more extensively illustrated and quoted journal than my next journals. Your face, your warmth, your shoulder, where did they go? So Senoy is looking for her foster sister. She had a sister who was not a sister, that was given to be raised with her as a child in hiding for a thieves guild leader who was worried that if his daughter stayed around him, that she may be captured and used as leverage against him, etc. So he hid her, and Senoy was put in charge of watching over her. they spent a lot of time together growing up. And so you'll see a lot of these orange motifs in here, because when Florence and Senoy were growing up together, Florence had a lot of reservations about fulfilling her kind of family expectation of going into the Thieves Guild as well, working for her father and being trained for leadership roles. And at one point, Senoy and she had decided, wouldn't it be great if we ran away together and we went south? We've never eaten an orange before, but we have heard about them. So that's why we have this quote here: God watches over children and he cares for fools in love. And you'll see at the bottom, there's always, if I have an attribution, it's attributed. Some of them are anonymous. Here we try to hide our feelings, but we forget our eyes speak. At this point, we have, Senoy has left her home, and she is searching for her sister who had disappeared at one point. Her sister grew up, did enter the Thieves Guild. Senoy entered the Thieves Guild to kind of chase after her and make sure she was okay, but they did become more distant during that time, and eventually Florence's father did lose some influence, and Florence disappeared suddenly. So Senoy is kind of cutting and running from the Thieves Guild, so they are chasing after her, and she is looking for Florence, but she does not know where to look. But Senoy has been given a lead that the Starlight Farm has a Thieves Guild activity happening in it, and there's something special with the wine. We're not sure what exactly, but it is not ordinary wine. So here we have me pretending to be an operative of a cult group so I can capture the person who runs Starlight Farm to try to figure out if he knows where Florence is, if he knows what about the wine is happening. He won't tell me. It was a bit of a failed venture. While you were busy being doomed by the narrative, I used it as a whetstone and became the blade. So Senoy is really defined by her insistence on being useful to Florence over the years. And that is definitely part of this quote here. To me, Florence was always doomed to enter into the Amaro Guild, which is what our name is for our Thieves Guild here, and Senoy, unfortunately, was always tragically bound to follow her. I desire violently and I wait. So the problem is that Senoy cannot find Florence. She doesn't know where she went. Senoy does not have a lot of contacts within the Amaro Guild, and especially does not now, since in order to go find Florence, she stole a bunch of money from them, did not finish a job that they had given her, and she took off. So we have a quote here from Ahaisnin. And then we have next, this is the strange way of the world, that people who simply want to love are instead forced to become warriors. I have different script throughout on different illustrations here for our quotes. You'll see a lot of arrow motif as well, because the Amaro Guild is disguising themselves as a fletching guild instead of a thieves guild, so they make arrows. And so you'll see oranges, you'll see arrows. There's a few other motifs as well. Here we have it can't be unlearned. I've known the warmth of your doorways. Through the cold, I'll find my way back to you. And we have ribbons of hair here. That's one of the reasons why Florence and Senoy were sisters, or pretended to be sisters, is because the hair was similar. Although they did not look too much alike, it was close enough. And Senoy is from a poor tanner family, and so no one's really looking at them. No one thinks to look for a child of a criminal leader among the families of the tanning area of town. This is where we were ambushed by some jackal wearers. So as you can see, we're already up at session 4. Spurtrin is a small town that we saved, and right now we are investigating activity of the cultists in the area. We found some tunnels underneath a radicalized young man's house, and we are trying to track down what the threat is to the city. Here we have more oranges. I had to create some squiggles here because I accidentally dropped my marker and gave it a little dash. And here is our Celis Gervais. It was a long time ago. It doesn't matter anymore, and yet I cannot let it go. I cannot let it go. Senoy does not know if her sister is alive or dead. She's really throwing everything away on a hope and a dream, and she knows that it's very possible that it's fruitless, but she can't stop. She grew up thinking that Florence was really, you know, an exceptional person, better than her. Florence is the one who received the thieves training, the thieves guild training, to be a rogue and a leader. Senoy just happened to go along for the lessons and was good at sitting and shutting up and listening. And so a lot of her rogue abilities are mostly just learned secondhand from Florence, or by being around Florence. So, you know, here we are telling people about what the cultists are up to, and getting ready to handle their attack on the leadership of the town. Senoy, meanwhile, is also looking for evidence of the Amaro Guild in town, so she can masquerade as someone else part of the guild that's not in trouble with the guild and doesn't have a bounty out on her head, so she can get information about maybe what happened to Florence. There isn't hope, there's a trail, I follow you. So there isn't much of a trail for poor Senoy here, but she is just kind of casting out some lines and seeing if anyone will give her any information about Florence. And indeed, when she talks to the head of the Amaro Guild in Spurtrin, she says, "Oh, I used to work for Florence. My name's Smeng, and I'm just looking for new work down here. I'm not up in Quayside anymore." And she was very surprised when the leader was upset that she had mentioned Florence's name, and said, "Don't mention that name. It's not safe for you to mention that name." And so she's just like, oh, wow, gosh, I just used to work for her. I don't know her that well. I just thought that she would be a good name to drop. And so she, on the inside, of course, is very excited to finally find a lead if somebody might know something about Florence, right? Obviously, Prin, this leader, is pissed off about something. So here we have a little dog, kind of messily sketched. I am not an artist, so I'm really happy how this particular piece turned out. There is no reason for this, only a starved dog's logic about bones. It's hard to overstate how much Senoy has given up for a dream here, and that she hasn't valued herself a lot in any particular way. She left her family behind. Like I said, it was a family of poor tanners, but they were loving, and they definitely did not want a Thieves Guild life for their daughter, but I suppose they were not surprised, although they were dismayed that she followed Florence as they got older. So to me, Senoy is in many ways a starved dog who really doesn't have to be, you know, because she could give it up at any time, but it seems impossible for her. She's obsessive. I saw the sparrows writing in their diaries. They describe how they have subsisted on my heart. They say that one grain of love is enough to survive on forever. This is a beautiful piece by Dunya Mikhail. She and Florence are from a small town outside of a larger city called Quayside, called Gargil. It has a large Thieves Guild presence, and it's damp. They used to play with frogs a lot. There was some bleed through because of this heavy water effect that we have here on the other page, which is a shame. But they used to spend a lot of time hiding out because it's not good to have Florence be seen by a ton of people if they can't help it. So they sought playing areas when they were children that nobody would be around at. So you have them sitting here in a drainage kind of pipe and ditch area, having a moment to themselves. And it was really Senoy's job to make sure that they stayed out of sight. In a lot of ways, she was responsible for Florence in that way. And they're still in the tunnels here. They're tracking down information about the cultists. But on the left here we have, if you had to walk into a room with everyone you've ever met, who would you go looking for first? My sister. Why her out of everyone? Who else if not her? This is just a wonderful little piece from online. But, you know, once again, Senoy is quite enamored with this idea that she exists to find Florence and make sure she's okay. And Senoy presumes that if Florence is alive, it's because she's being held by another Amaro Guild member, and so she wants to get her out. She still wants to take her south to eat those oranges. I haven't forgotten you. The nights are long and difficult. And this is a Frida Kahlo quote. Senoy at this point is starting to learn that Prin has some information. She has talked to Prin, the Amaro Guild leader in the town that she's in, Bertrand, about getting some information from him, and he will agree to speak to her once she's done a job for him. So after the cultists are done, she will have a job to do, and she hopes that that will be enough to learn about where her next steps will go. Here we have we found a little map in a treasure chest, and so I've got it set up here. You know, we have a whole map of kind of the Alstrom world that we're in. It's called Alstrom. You can see we have some hills and a village. Hillsfar is where we started, right there kind of in the center, and then off to Kossar for a moment, then over to Spurtrin. We crashed along the way. We ran into Starlight Farm, kind of down below there, but this is a bit of a treasure map. As you can see in the center upper area, there's Milant with an X next to Andaman Creek, north of Kossar, and that seems to be some sort of a tunnel that will lead us into ancient Orcish territory where some legendary items were once presumed to be lost. So we will probably head out in the next few campaign sessions to see if we can't track those down. But for now, we are telling the captain of the guard about the cultist threat, and he agrees to put the group on lockdown. The city will be on lockdown until we eliminate the group, which we eventually do, and become the heroes of Spurtrin, which is probably the happiest and most gratified Senoy has ever been, although it is not to last, as they must leave pretty soon afterwards. You wouldn't believe the kind of person I could become if you wanted it. Here's a map of Spurtrin, and a quote by Franz Kafka, another romantic quote for Senoy of becoming the person that she needs to be to find the person that she cares about. And so Spurtrin here, you've got your inn, etc., your dwarven region. We spent quite a bit of time in Spurtrin with this cultist thread. I wish we were kids again. I can't protect her from anything, not anything important. My little sister tears me apart. The Thieves' Cant is, in this session, these sessions are, the Amaro Guild has some pictographs that they put on items to tell you what type of place this is, whether it's a fence or a place that you can hide out, etc. So we have the Starlight Farms wine here with the Thieves' Cant symbol. Where you go, I go, I hold your hand in every world, and that's Grindelman's. So Senoy is excited at this point to get information from Prin. She tells Prin where she's staying. He gets a lot of information about her and her friends, and she's a little worried about that, but she also knows that she's not using her real name. Her name growing up, and the one that she would have used in the Thieves Guild before she betrayed them, was Lilette, and so she's fairly certain that he doesn't know who she is. I don't know if you're alive or dead, can you on earth be sought, or only when the sunsets fade be born serenely in my thought. All is for you, the daily prayer, the sleepless heat at night, and of my verses the white flock, and of my eyes the blue fire. No one was more cherished, no one tortured me more, not even the one who betrayed me to torture, not even the one who caressed me and forgot. and this here is Anna Akhmatova. We have a illustration of the tannery ponds, kind of from a top view here, very inspired by Morocco and some of their tanneries, famous in Marrakesh, if I recall correctly. It's definitely a little bit more crowded here than I was able to draw, not quite as idyllic. The houses would have been crammed more together, and Senoy and Florence would have grown up in a pretty small residence, but lots of city streets to run through. So this is especially included here because Senoy did once, when she was trying to go up in the, not long before Florence disappeared, when Senoy was trying to prove herself to the Amaro Guild and become a more trusted member and get closer to Florence, there was a gentleman who took issue with Florence's prestige and leadership due to her father's influence. He didn't think it was fair, and he was conspiring to kill her. And so Senoy got wind of this and lured him into her family's territory, the tannery area, and killed him and put his body in the dye pits. She was injured during that fight, and this is all backstory, this is not anything that happened in the campaign, but she was injured. She had to stay away from the Amaro Guild for a while, so she didn't arouse suspicion by being super injured for no reason other than the reason that she killed one of their members. And so because of that, by the time she returned with her wounds, no longer super apparent, Florence was gone. Can you stomach it? Anyway, you eat it. You eat it anyway. And here's our aspirational orange, our hopes and dreams for the future. What will Senoy have to do? What will she have to eat in order to make that happen? Excuse me. Oh my goodness. All right. So here we have a ceremony for the heroes of Spertrin. We did manage to fight off all those cultists, and then after that we've decided to lead Prin, the leader of the Amaro Guild in this area, to a quiet location and interrogate him, because Senoy thinks that's the only way. She has told her friends at this point a little bit about her quest. Hope is humiliating and exhausting. The soul is humiliating and exhausting. The body is both but louder. They call it longing because it takes forever. And here we have an illustration of the bag of tricks, which, are little animal balls that you throw out and you get a random animal on the ground when you use it. It's such a fun thing, especially for my niece to use. Jeremy Codden there with the awfulness of hope and how it makes us do things that we otherwise would be unwilling to stomach. So we have more butterflies here, and the next page, how do you love like a fist, like a knife? And we have a bandage here. This is mostly my anticipation of remembering for Senoy the last time she really stuck her neck out for Florence and how hurt she got, when she assassinated that person who was looking to betray Florence. She got very injured, very, very injured. And so here they are receiving items from the ceremony saying that they are heroes. She gets a flask of growth, and so I have that illustrated here as well. They were all my secrets spread out on the table, like someone had taken my insides and scooped them out for everyone to see. Look, here are her stupid hopes. Look, here's her dumb soft heart. And this is Senoy feeling very vulnerable to her new adventuring companions right now. She was mostly using them to survive on her travels, but she does care about them quite a bit, but they are starting to know her story now, and that makes her very tender, for sure. And how silly her hopes may actually be. There's not a lot of hope, there's no real reason why she should think that Florence is around anywhere. But Prin, they are able to capture down in a bad part of town. He does bring friends, but they take them out. They interrogate him, and he essentially says that he knows that Florence's father was on the outs with the group. He was kind of branching off to do his own thing a little bit. Sounds like maybe for a noble cause. And Florence got caught in the middle as well. She was last seen when there were, hits out on them in Kossar, or in Kossar. And Prin had heard and seen her come through, so in Spertrin, he told the Amaro Guild further into the city to come and take her out. And so he assumes that since he said that she is dead. And Senoy does not take that very well. And once she gets the information that she needs out of him, she considers it a revenge killing and kills him. I would love you even if you killed God. And here we have just a small illustration of a forged document that they place in a magistrate's party to allow them to get closer to Prin in order to get this information from him. And while they were at that party, they also went down into a basement where he was keeping exotic animals. My niece is a ranger in this campaign, and this was her beast that she found and cares for. So we have that there. And now we have, this is the interrogation part with Prin. So we have a lot of anger from Senoy that usually you don't see. She's mostly a cautious and fearful individual, although she does have a sense of humor as well. Why are you full of rage? Because you are full of grief. And like I said, her father was a tanner. Actually lived in the tanning area of town, which is why you have the leathers being stretched on the rack there. And all of my devotion turns violent. More arrow imagery for the Amaro Guild. If Senoy cannot find Florence, I always anticipated that she would just fully enter into a revenge quest. But like I said, our campaign is still ongoing, but Senoy is now dead. So that is a frustrated ending for her. So here he is, Prin is describing how he saw Florence, and so he assumes that the Amaro Guild has already assassinated her. That was some time ago, a couple years ago. Senoy's been looking for her sister. Isn't all that rage so ugly, and isn't it mine still? Good God, isn't it mine? We have the hopes and dreams of Florence and Senoy, and now that Senoy has heard that Florence is likely dead, assassinated, the arrow of the Amaro Guild has struck through her hopes and dreams. So Senoy will go to Kosgar to pick up Florence's trail. She heard that Kosgar was last where Prin knew that Florence was, and so she, even though he told her she's probably dead, she's still got to go take a look, and which is great because Willow, our ranger, and my niece is also from Kosgar and would love to go visit her sick mother and make sure she's okay. But the horror was for love. The things we do for love like this are ugly, mad, full of sweat and regret. At this point, Senoy could definitely bail. She could say, oh, Florence is dead. I killed the man who ratted her out, but that's not enough for Senoy at this point. Who has not asked himself at one time or other, am I a monster, or is this what it means to be a person? Circumstances have led Senoy down kind of a dark path. She's still very nice to get along with. The group, however, is not happy that she killed Prin and got them into a bunch of trouble with a guild that is obviously going to now be sending them assassins. They now realize that Senoy has a bounty on her head, which means that they will also be in danger. We have a basket here. This is from a combat that we did with Jackawares with they were pretending to be foragers. And then next we have, my God, will I ever not be surprised by what I can survive? And we have a snake here, Ruth Awad. We are traveling to Kosgar at this point. And the song goes, if the earth were square, we would curl up and hide in its corners, but the earth is round, so we must face it. We have an illustration here. We try to head off to Kosgar, and we take a shortcut by asking a wizard to teleport us. However, he messes up and only gets us halfway. We're stuck in the middle of a forest with a hag, and a combat does ensue. Sometimes being offered tenderness feels like the very proof that you've been ruined. We have a little cozy soup bowl here, and Senoy at this point is very attached to the people that she is traveling with, and she's not used to that kind of camaraderie. She used to only get it through Florence, and of course, love from her family, although they were very busy. But the Thieves Guild did not give her that kind of family sensation, and so she is quite just happy to have them around. Although she's still worried about her sister Florence a lot, she probably doesn't realize that these last few days have been the best days of her life. The end justifies the means, but what if there is never an end? All we have is means, and we have a goblin encampment that we were sent out to in order to come back to the village, and they would show us the way out. So we handled that. We slaughter those poor goblins, we really do. And Senoy starts getting much better at her roguery at this point. I just want a humble, murderously simple thing, that a person be glad when I walk into the room. It's been pretty apparent so far, I'm sure, but Senoy doesn't think a lot of herself. She really does want to be useful. And that is definitely bleeding over into her interactions with her party. It is only tragedy if you convince yourself for even just a moment that everything could be okay, despite knowing it won't be. At this point, they have gotten to Kosgar, where she hopes to find Florence. Senoy sits outside of the, like looking out a window at night, a little bit outside of Kosgar, and she's just hoping Florence will walk along, even though she knows that that's basically impossible. What are the chances? No one's that lucky, right? Such a waste of a girl, such ruination. I am obsessive. I contain nothing but the replay. I am blood and blood and replay. I am please don't go. I am toss the windows open, but I am windows closed. Nothing comes in, no one gets out. And just in case you forgot, that Senoy's a rogue, we got a couple of daggers here and a very sad poem about her obsessions and how they've created a space for her where she feels like people don't understand her. And this is obviously where I went to double time on my writing. The pages started to fill up, and gosh, that's great because my hand was really getting tired after having to draw and do all of the inking on all of those other pages. So at Kosgar, we do run into Willow's mother. We realize that Willow's mother has been not sick naturally, but has been being poisoned by Willow's brother, who it was revealed to him that they were in political exiles and hiding from the kind of Roman-style elven city that is kind of closed off to the world. And so because they were likely to be assassinated, their mother took them to this town of Kosgar, where apparently they were safe, but the leader of the elven city, the emperor, has been trying to get their mother to come back. However, they cannot come back with her, and so afraid that he would be assassinated and that their mother had intended to leave them to their fate, he had been poisoning her to keep her sick, to keep her there with them. Obviously, it was revealed later that that was not his mother's intention this whole time, and the family is somewhat fractured right now because of it. I'm sorry, this may be at my best. Senoy is spending some money in town. They think for a while that they're going to have to go off and chase after Willow's mother. All ends well, and everyone can stay in Kosgar, but we do get some shopping done ahead of time. And then we agree to go with our monk into a nearby area where he was raised in an orphanage. He's a half-orc monk, but there's a rumor out that says that his deity, Helm, the priests have been stealing children from, impoverished and undesirable backgrounds like half-orcs, and using them as fodder for building kind of, weapons, monks that go out and fight for their cause. And so he does go to look into that, and we do find that that is the case. Unfortunately, Senoy does not make it that far. Along the way heading to the orphanage, we go through a series of tunnels, and when we come out the other side, we are fighting a group of hobgoblins, and everybody kind of goes left, and Senoy accidentally goes right, and she is unable to stop from getting hit several times, and in an act of revenge of his own, the hobgoblin leader stabs her prone body, and she dies. Without anyone able to resurrect her in the area. They do take her body to the temple of where the orphanage is, but the one priest there is unable to help them. He has given up on his faith. He is sitting there waiting for one of these monks that he raised to come back to kill him in revenge for taking them away from their families, or killing their families and taking them, etc., which our monk eventually does do, and they take Senoy's body elsewhere. I give you my blank heart, please write on it what you wish. So the priest was able to sustain Senoy's body for a while, increasing the chances for resurrection, and so they do travel back to Kossar looking for a way to revive her. My new character joins them along the way as a Kenku druid who was captured by a group of slavers, and he is a popular character, so at that point it was unlikely that Senoy would be easily brought back, although they were still trying. They do bring Senoy's body back to Kossar, where they try to find a person to resurrect her. They kind of realize that the Thieves Guild of some sort, perhaps not the Amaro Guild, perhaps another group, has been following them and are interested in Senoy for some reason, for reasons that will probably be revealed later. They go to the temple to find a healer, but they are intercepted at the door by someone pretending to be the secretary of the temple, who says, hey, I can set you up a time to meet with the temple leader, the holy person, but you have to come back in a couple hours. They're busy right now. So they go, they come back, and then the same secretary assistant says, okay, you can go in and you can see this holy person, but no weapons, no bags to hide weapons in. You just simply have to go in with just you and your armor. So they leave everything behind, including Senoy's body in their bag of holding. And when they talk to the person to resurrect Senoy and talk her into allowing sometimes a person who may not deserve resurrection, they talk her into it. They go out to get Senoy's body and they realize it is gone and it has been stolen by whoever these operatives are. They do track down some of the activity of these operatives, whoever these people are, and they do get a meeting with them, but it looks like it's going to come to some deadly blows to get her back. They have taken Senoy's body to resurrect her for their own purposes, and that is unclear at the moment of which one it is. So at that point, Senoy's arc is over. She may be resurrected, like they said, but at that point, I think she's going to be an NPC that our DM uses in the future. I know it is over. Still I cling. I don't know where else I can go. So, and then I think I missed one back here. We have, I give you my blank heart, please write on it what you wish. Senoy is likely going to be used by these other people for purposes that we do not know yet. They said that they want information and her skills. So I look forward to seeing where she goes from here. But this is my goodbye moment for Senoy. She was a great character to play. I really look forward to seeing if she haunts the narrative from the grave. Well, I hope this was interesting for you all. I definitely keep a little pouch in the back for anything. I've got a couple letters in there that were part of the group inventory, extra quotes that I could use at another point in time, and inventory for small items that otherwise wouldn't fit on my character sheet. But that is the end for Senoy. Thank you.